Let's stay with that story as it has brought back into the spotlight the safety of healthcare workers. We're joined now by Jaco van Heerden, who is Denosa's Western Cape organiser. Jaco, it's great to have you with us on what is an incredibly disturbing story. Let me begin by asking how the nursing staff and the hospital staff at that hospital are doing this morning.
Yes, good mornings and good mornings to your viewers. From our perspective, yes, it is it's a very drastic and it's a difficult time when you are in the work context and shooting occur. It creates fear in the nurses. So at this stage, the emotions is still very, very high, and our nurses are struggling with such an incident in their presence at New Somerset Hospital.
I suppose more so because the incident happened at a hospital, isn't it? It's even more disturbing because it took place in a setting that is meant to be a place of healing.
Certainly. If you understand that the nurse is focused on nursing care, and it was the time when it happens, it actually happened at handing over time, which is a time where security or where the security should be very heightened, alerted. And in our view, the nurses were busy with handing over from the day to the night stuff. And when this incident then now happened, certainly either the police plus the security should be heightened to ensure that the patients are safe. Unfortunately, as the news are stating, these nurses were busy with handing over their work, focused on their work, making sure that there's a continuation of care. But unfortunately, even at that point, which our view is that the employer had to ensure that there are cameras, there's security outside of the police, because we must know that these patients, all these patients and the staff, they need to work in an environment which is safe. We are of the view that in the absence of security in the ward setting, that someone is monitoring cameras to see what's happening. And also that when you have a incarcerated patient with the police or with correctional services, we believe that they should be treated and looked after in a single room. And if you noted, the incident, it actually didn't occur in that fashion. So we would expect that the employer really investigate and make sure that sufficient security, especially at heightened times like handover, where the focus is in handover and not where there are a lot of nurses in the ward, at least to reduce the risk for people to do things which is wrong.
So Jaco, we're saying that the story has put into sharp focus again the safety of healthcare workers. Is that what Denosa is now sort of lobbying for? That when there is someone from correctional services who is needing healthcare services, that is done separately, that there is beefed up security? I mean, according to the hospital, security is as high as it could be in a hospital setting. So what are you saying about what it would look like to beef up security outside of attending to a patient from correctional services in a separate room, but in the day-to-day running? What would beefing up security in a hospital look like?
Certainly, we would appreciate that if the employer can ensure that there are 24-hour viewing of cameras at the institution. We would also appreciate that in the different wards, as we deal with not only patients in this context would take off a gun from a policeman, but that we are also dealing with many psychiatric patients that's coming. And our experience is that, especially in trauma units, some of these patients, they are not medically or controlled with drugs good enough, and that places a serious risk on the nurses. So we would expect that within the ward, before the entrance, that security really scan everybody that comes in and out. And then we also would want to make sure that in this at least that the employer makes sure that they are getting their standard or their specific danger allowance. As you can see, nurses are at very high risk that create problems for us as a nurse in this context.
Yeah, certainly. And as Premier Alan Winde also said, the spotlight is firmly now on how to beef up security, how to improve security so that not only nursing staff but patients as well feel safe. Jaco van Heerden, let me thank you for your time this morning. He is Denosa's Western Cape organiser. That's the Democratic Nursing Organisation of South Africa.